Hey there, it's Shauna. I hope you're doing great. Welcome to your weekly astrology forecast for September 18th. So this week is all about mind over matter. And so I'm using that title because this week it's really more about your mind and your intellect and your thought process and the intuitions that can come up through your mind. So this week is more about contemplation than about pushing forward and taking action and making things happen. This is more about allowing things to come up intuitively and intellectually as well. So I'm excited to share with you the astrology of the week, and then I have 3 tips for you to have an amazing week. So the biggest event that's happening this week is we have a new moon in Virgo. So this is happening Tuesday or Wednesday, depending on where you are in the world. It's exact at 27 degrees of Virgo, so it's later in the sign. And it's on Tuesday, September 19th at 10:30 p.m. Pacific time. This is on Wednesday the 20th at 5:30 a.m. Universal Time, and then 3:30 p.m. on Wednesday Australian Eastern Time. And so this new moon, I'm actually really excited about this, guys, because this new moon really closes out the eclipse cycle and the Mercury retrograde that we had. So even though it's a new moon, and a new moon is a time where we're going inside and we're more reflective, it's a more quiet time. It does, and especially the sign of Virgo, it does feel like it's more about getting closure around things. It's about getting into, okay, what is it that you need to do in order to move forward with your life at this point? Virgo is very practical. Virgo is an earth sign, so it's very practical, very concerned with the material world. And Virgo likes to organize things. It likes to take things apart and to like put them back together, to reorient them in a more useful kind of way. Virgo is a mutable sign. So mutable signs, they're all about like changing something in order to improve it. So this week it may have like that fresh start kind of feel. It may feel like you're able to move forward even more so than you did in the previous week. The other thing that's happening is we have very shortly after the new moon, the sun moving into Libra. And so this actually kicks off our equinox. So if you're in the northern hemisphere, this is the fall equinox. If you're in the southern hemisphere, you're having the spring equinox. And so this is like a pivot point. This happens Friday or Saturday, depending on where you are in the world. And our astrology in Western astrology and tropical zodiac, it's triggered by the equinoxes and the solstices. And so when we have the equinox, that is when the day and night are equal. They're exactly equal all around the world. And this happening is when the sun is moving into the sign of Libra. And Libra is all about relationships. It's about connecting. It's about taking yourself and then seeing how that goes when you take yourself and put it out there to other people and connect with other people and all of the navigation that goes along with that. And so this is really important because this really kicks off a whole new part of the season where in the previous season, earlier in the zodiac, it's more self-focused, especially if we're starting from Virgo. Like Leo, Virgo is very focused on the self. It's about improving the self, making yourself better. And then when we start to move to Libra and then Scorpio and Capricorn, Sagittarius, Capricorn, etc., those signs are more focused on relating to other people and bringing yourself out to others interpersonally, and then also just to be seen out in the world. And so there's going to be like this shift point of taking all the things that you've worked on over this past season, over the past summer or winter if you're down south, and taking that out into the world to kind of like put things into practice that you've been having insights on. So that's happening this week as well. And then if that's not enough, we have Mercury and Mars making an aspect with Neptune, and then also Mercury with Pluto as well. So the biggest thing with this is that it is more of a mind over matter thing. We have Mars opposing Neptune and we have Mercury opposing Neptune. Neptune likes to dissolve things. It likes to kind of like have us think about things and be more in a contemplative and reflective place than actually doing things. And this is especially so when Mars, the planet of action, is opposite Neptune, which is about really not taking any action. So this week it is a time less about like doing things actively, and it's more about allowing new insights to come up. And that doesn't mean like don't take action and don't do things, but it just means that like I wouldn't, like, you don't need to push yourself this week. You don't need to have it all figured out. You don't need to have everything done. It is a waxing moon week because we start off with the new moon in Virgo, so it is good to move forward with things and to start to build and to push yourself a little bit. But again, I would just really notice your energy levels. When Mars is opposite Neptune, sometimes we can feel just physically a little bit more tired because Mars is related to physical vitality. So all of those things, I have some tips for you guys to have a really great week. So tip number 1 is to favor contemplation over action. And so this goes back to the Neptune piece. It's like this week I want you to focus your energy more on just noticing what's coming up for you and what you feel compelled or called to do, or maybe not. Maybe you feel compelled to not do anything, or you feel a certain sense of like not really being sure. I really want you to honor that because that is important this week. It's important to let things come up organically, and you don't necessarily have to do anything with that. That's more for next week. And then tip number 2 is to, along these same lines, to make time to do nothing. So what does that mean? That means I want you to schedule some time this week. It can be like 15 minutes, it could be an hour, it could be a whole day. But schedule some time where you have no appointments, no agenda, nothing that you need to do. And this is really good for all of that Neptune energy, and especially the new moon as well, because all of this is around going inside of yourself a little bit more. And in our society, we think that a person that's doing nothing is being lazy. And that's not really the case. You actually need to do nothing. It helps you think, it helps you process. If you're a creative person, it helps you to create more things because it's a way for you to fill yourself back up, so to speak. So that's really important. And then I have a quote here that I want to share with you as well that's along these lines before I give you the third tip. So this is from one of my favorite books that I've been rereading. It's The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. And if you have listened to the podcast that I co-host with Mel, you'll know that we actually used The Alchemist. We used all quotes from The Alchemist and kind of like weaved in the theme in this week. So this is a different quote that I want to read you though. So he says, meanwhile, the boy thought about his treasure. The closer he got to the realization of his dream, the more difficult things became. It seemed as if what the old king had called beginner's luck were no longer functioning. In his pursuit of the dream, he was being constantly subjected to tests of his persistence and courage, so that he could not be hasty nor impatient. If he pushed forward impulsively, he would fail to see the signs and omens left along his path. And so I think that is just really sweet and perfect for this week, is that it is a time to, don't be hasty. Pay attention to signs and omens. This book is really beautiful because it talks a lot about the hero's journey and paying attention to omens and how the universe really conspires to help you achieve what it is that is your personal legend, your personal destiny, etc. But at the same time, you got to be kind of smart with it. You can't just like go bulldoze forward. So so that leads me to tip number 3 is put this into practice. Leave me a comment below and let me know, what are you going to do this week to have your do nothing time? You know, what's that going to look like for you? I'm really curious what you guys come up with. So all of that being said, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please share it with a friend. I like to get these messages out to as many people as possible. And if you want to go deeper into these themes, there is a lot of astrology happening this week, especially with Neptune. You can listen to the podcast that I co-host with my friend Mel. It's called The Feminine Principle, Astrology for Authentic Living, and I'll have a link down below for the iTunes. And then I'm doing readings also. So if you want to connect with me, the best way to request that right now is to email me, and I have a few different options. So if you want that, let me know. So that's all for this week. I hope you have an amazing week, and I'll talk to you soon. Namaste.